Breaking news tonight, federal authorities have dismantled a massive drug empire operating out of Miami with connections reaching the highest levels of organized crime.
At 11:47 p.m., the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida stood before a wall of cameras and delivered 6 words that would shake Miami to its foundation. We have dismantled a narcotics empire. The numbers hit like hammer blows. 4.7 tons of cocaine, 890 kilograms of fentanyl, 2.1 million fentanyl pills, $67 million in cash and luxury assets seized, 14 oceanfront properties confiscated, 89 arrests across 3 states. And at the center of it all, one name no one saw coming. State Senator Marcus Delgado, the so-called voice of reform, secretly commanding the largest cocaine distribution network Florida had seen in 2 decades. This is not just about drugs. This is about a politician who turned Miami Beach into a cartel fortress, the Port of Miami into a narcotics highway, and Florida's legislative halls into a boardroom for La Costa Roja cartel, a brutal offshoot of the Sinaloa cartel that had been invisibly feeding America's drug crisis for 6 years. What you're about to hear goes deeper than you think. And I promise you, the next part is worse. 4:32 a.m. Miami Beach. The ocean breeze carried salt and silence. Neon signs flickered over empty streets. Palm shadows stretched long beneath dimmed streetlights. The city slept. But the federal government did not. From 3 directions, black SUVs and armored tactical carriers closed in on a sprawling waterfront mansion on Star Island. No sirens, no lights, just synchronized movement. FBI, D, ICE, and Miami-Dade SWAT teams converged as one machine. Over 200 federal agents, armed, armored, and operating under sealed warrants signed by a federal judge in Washington who trusted no one in Florida. The target was a $28 million estate with white stucco walls, infinity pools overlooking Biscayne Bay, and yacht docks that had hosted senators, celebrities, and drug lords pretending to be entrepreneurs. Intelligence reports confirmed this mansion wasn't just luxury, it was logistics, a command center disguised as paradise. At exactly 4:34 a.m., the breach began. Flashbangs detonated, doors exploded inward, tactical operators flooded the property, sweeping through marble hallways lined with modern art worth more than most people's homes. Upstairs, armed security scrambled. Downstairs, cartel operatives tried to run with duffel bags stuffed with cash bricks and vacuum-sealed cocaine packages. They didn't make it 10 feet. Agents seized 340 kilograms of pure cocaine stacked in climate-controlled wine cellars. They found methamphetamine hidden inside hollowed furniture. Fentanyl pills disguised as prescription medication filled entire closets, automatic weapons, suppressors, body armor. This wasn't a stash house. This was a drug fortress. But the real discovery came in the back office. Behind a false wall panel, agents uncovered something that made seasoned investigators go silent. Encrypted laptops, satellite phones with direct lines to Culiacan, Mexico, steel lockboxes containing shipping manifests, port schedules, and Border Patrol shift rotations. And one name appeared on every document, every transaction, every authorization code. Senator Marcus Delgado, the same man who had publicly called for tougher border enforcement. The same senator who sponsored anti-trafficking legislation. The same leader who shook hands with grieving families of overdose victims while secretly orchestrating the flow of narcotics that killed them. This was not corruption. This was command. 6:19 a.m. FBI Cyber Forensics Lab, Miami Field Office. Agents worked in silence, cracking encryption layers on seized hard drives. One by one, digital walls fell. And what emerged was a masterpiece of criminal engineering. The operation had a code name: Proyecto Marea Roja. Project Red Tide. Analysts stared at a network diagram that looked like a corporate empire. Shell companies registered in Delaware. Ghost corporations in the Cayman Islands. Offshore accounts cycling money through Panama, Dubai, and Switzerland. Fake logistics firms, sham real estate investment trusts, nonprofit foundations that existed only on paper, all of it controlled by one man. Senator Delgado didn't just take bribes, he architected the system. He used his political influence to manipulate port contracts, redirect federal funding, and shield cartel operations from law enforcement scrutiny. His digital fingerprint was everywhere. Authorization codes for shipments, encrypted messages coordinating drug tunnel construction near the border, financial transfers disguised as campaign donations and consulting fees. The money flowed like an invisible river. Every week, semi-trucks carrying agricultural goods rolled through Florida's highways without inspection. Shipping containers marked textiles passed through Port of Miami without secondary searches. Luxury yachts docked at private marinas and offloaded cocaine bricks in the dead of night, protected by security teams on Delgado's payroll. La Costa Roja cartel, an offshoot of the Sinaloa cartel, had turned Florida into their secure American hub, and Senator Marcus Delgado had given them the keys. Analysts traced bank records showing $11.4 million funneled to Delgado over 3 years. Payments disguised as real estate deals, campaign contributions from Shell donors, consulting fees from companies that did no consulting. The senator lived like royalty because he sold his state like property. One encrypted message stood out, sent from Delgado's personal device to a cartel commander in Sinaloa. Miami is ours. The routes are clean. Increased shipments. This was not negligence. This was engineered treason. Federal prosecutors knew they had enough to bury him. But they also knew the network was bigger. If they stopped now, the cartel would rebuild. So the decision was made, take it all down. At once. 7:03 a.m. Joint Federal Command Center, Homestead Air Reserve Base. A massive digital map filled the wall, glowing with over 40 red markers pulsing across Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and the Florida Keys. Each marker represented a cartel asset, a warehouse, a distribution hub, a corrupt official, a drug tunnel entrance. The operation commander's voice cut through the room like steel. Operation Red Tide Takedown is now live. All units execute. Over 1,200 federal agents deployed simultaneously. Black Hawk helicopters lifted off. Rotors cutting through the morning sky. Armored convoys rolled out. ICE tactical units moved towards suspected human trafficking houses. DIA agents hit known drug labs. FBI teams stormed luxury condos where cartel money managers lived like kings. At a warehouse near Miami International Airport, agents smashed through loading bay doors and found 1.2 tons of cocaine hidden inside pallets marked ceramic tiles. Workers tried to flee. They were tackled before reaching the fence. In Coral Gables, a cartel accountant's mansion was raided. Inside, agents discovered $9 million in cash vacuums sealed in walls, server farms tracking drug shipments in real time, and ledgers showing payments to judges, border agents, and port officials. Near the Everglades, a hidden drug superlab was cooking methamphetamine in industrial quantities. Chemists in hazmat suits worked around the clock. When DIA agents stormed in, the operation was dismantled within minutes. 600 kilograms of meth seized. At Port of Miami, federal agents moved through shipping terminals with warrants and bolt cutters. Customs officials who had been taking bribes were arrested on the spot. Shipping containers were opened, revealing not machinery or furniture, but cocaine bricks stacked floor to ceiling. One container alone held 800 kilograms. Off the coast of Key Largo, the U.S., Coast Guard intercepted a luxury yacht carrying 340 kilograms of heroin. The captain tried to claim it was a private charter. His passenger list included 3 men wanted by DIA For cartel leadership, by 1:00 p.m., the numbers were staggering: 4.7 tons of cocaine, 890 kilograms of fentanyl, 2.1 million fentanyl pills, 600 kilograms of methamphetamine, 210 kilograms of heroin, 67 million in cash and assets frozen, 89 arrests, 14 properties seized. The underworld took more damage in 6 hours than in the last 6 years. But the rot went deeper than anyone imagined. Inside the seized server farms, analysts found something that turned stomachs: internal law enforcement communications, patrol schedules, raid plans, border checkpoint rotations. All of it leaked to the cartel by people sworn to protect the public. 12 Miami-Dade police officers were compromised. 4 ICE agents took bribes. 2 assistant state attorneys buried cases. A federal magistrate judge signed warrants that conveniently missed cartel targets. Even a Coast Guard lieutenant had been feeding shipment schedules to traffickers. Senator Delgado had built a second enforcement system, a shadow police force. Officers who didn't serve justice, they served the cartel. They redirected patrols during shipments. They tipped off smugglers before raids. They falsified evidence logs to protect cartel members. One leaked message sent from a sergeant to a cartel lieutenant: "Your load is clear Tuesday night. I've got the route covered." Honest officers felt betrayed. Some wept during internal reviews. Others demanded immediate arrests. Federal agents moved swiftly. Corrupt officers were cuffed in their own precincts. Judges were escorted from courtrooms in handcuffs. The badge, once a symbol of trust, had been poisoned. But it would be rebuilt from the ground up. The scope of Proyecto Marea Roja was continental. Investigators traced routes from Culiacan, Mexico, through cartel-controlled tunnels near the Texas border, into trucking networks across the southern United States, and finally into Florida's port cities. Senator Delgado had used his political connections to secure transportation contracts for shell companies. Trucks marked agricultural freight carried cocaine and fentanyl instead of produce. Weigh stations were bypassed using falsified permits. Highway patrol officers on cartel payroll escorted convoys through inspection zones. Port of Miami became the crown jewel. Delgado leveraged his position on the State Commerce Committee to influence Port Authority appointments. He placed loyalists in key positions. Shipping manifests were altered digitally. Container inspections were randomly skipped when cartel cargo arrived. Over 11 tons of narcotics moved through Miami ports over 3 years without triggering a single alert. Analysts uncovered the final phase of Delgado's plan, a classified file titled Permanencia, Permanence. The senator wasn't just facilitating drug trafficking, he was building infrastructure for a cartel-controlled economic zone. Real estate acquisitions, legislative barriers to federal oversight, a political machine designed to shield La Costa Roja cartel for decades. He was turning Florida into a narco state, one vote at a time. Power does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it only needs silence and ambition. Senator Marcus Delgado understood that. He built his empire not with guns, but with signatures, not with threats, but with influence. He weaponized the systems meant to protect people and turned them into weapons against the innocent. The cost? Families shattered by overdoses, neighborhoods consumed by addiction, children orphaned because fentanyl pills disguised as prescription medication killed their parents, communities terrorized by cartel violence while their own leaders looked the other way. 7 tons of cocaine, 2.1 million fentanyl pills. Those numbers are not abstract. They are lives, futures stolen, dreams buried. This story is a warning. Corruption does not always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a suit, a smile, and a Senate pin. If you're still watching, tap like so more people see this story. Comment expose if you want this corruption dragged into the light. Share it, so the truth reaches every corner where power thinks it can hide. The mansion on Star Island is empty now. The senator sits in a federal detention center awaiting trial. The cartel network is broken. But vigilance is not a one-time act. It is a constant choice. Stay awake. Stay informed. Because the next empire is always being built in silence.